If we're going to get serious and cap the emission of greenhouse gases that are causing global warming, then we are going to be having power plants have to figure out how they're going to reduce their carbon, because they'll have to pay penalties if they exceed the cap. And that means that they're going to have to change how their power plants operate. And that means, in turn, that they'll have to make investments that they will try to pass on to consumers and could result in higher electricity prices. Now, over the long term, what happens is that technology catches up and those electricity prices go down. In the short term, though, people individually who can afford it, and the government will help, but we're going to all have to be more energy efficient. We're going to have to insulate our homes, change our light bulbs. The same is true when it comes to the transportation sector. I mean, not only do we have to invest in mass transit, but we also have to make sure that that people are making good decisions about cars, and they're free to, people are free to buy a Suburban if you want that gets 8 miles a gallon, but we can't subsidize to make sure that you are able to fill up your Suburban tank at a really cheap rate, because that's not the trajectory of oil prices worldwide. I noticed some folks clapped, but I know some of these big guys, they're all still driving their big SUVs. You know, they got their big monster trucks and everything. You're one of them? Well, now, here's my point. You know, if you're complaining about the price of gas and you're only getting 8 miles a gallon, you know, well, you may have a big family, but it's probably not that big. So, how many you have? 10 kids, you said? 10 kids? Well, you definitely need a hybrid van then. Now the latest scheme is, well, we're going to drill offshore. Now, I want to be absolutely clear to everybody about this. If I thought that I could provide you some immediate relief on gas prices by drilling off the shores of California and New Jersey, I understand how desperate folks are. I mean, I met a guy who couldn't go on a job search, had lost his job, couldn't go on a job search because of the high price of gas. Just couldn't fill up his tank. I met a teacher in South Dakota who loved her job as a teacher on an Indian reservation. She had to quit because the drive was too far. It was taking up too much of her paycheck. I know how bad people are hurting. So if I thought that by drilling offshore we could solve our problem, I'd do it. Things that you can do individually, though, to save energy. Making sure your tires are properly inflated. Simple thing. But we could save all the oil that they're talking about getting off drilling if everybody was just inflating their tires and getting regular tune-ups. You could actually save just as much. You know, when I was asked earlier about the issue of coal, you know, under my plan of a cap and trade system, electricity rates would necessarily skyrocket. Even, you know, regardless of what I say about whether coal is good or bad, because I'm capping greenhouse gases, coal-powered plants, you know, natural gas, you name it, whatever the plants were, whatever the industry was, they would have to retrofit their operations. That will cost money. They will pass that money on to consumers.
So could these high prices help us?
I think that I would have preferred a gradual adjustment. The fact that this is such a shock to American pocketbooks is not a good thing. But if we take some steps right now to help people make the adjustment, first of all by putting more money into their pockets, but also by encouraging the market to adapt to these new circumstances more quickly, particularly U.S. automakers.
Talk of war, as you call it, driving up gas prices further.
Your critics will say on Capitol Hill that you want gas prices to go higher because you have said before that will wean the American people off fossil fuels onto renewable fuels. How do you respond to that?
Ed, just from a political perspective, do you think the President of the United States going into re-election wants gas prices to go up higher? Is there anybody here who thinks that makes a lot of sense? What I have also said about gas prices is that there is no silver bullet, and the only way we're going to solve this problem over the medium and long term is with an all-of-the-above strategy. We are going to make sure that we are conserving energy. That's why we doubled fuel efficiency standards on cars, which will save consumers about $1.7 trillion and take about 12 billion barrels of oil offline, which will help to reduce prices. And we're going to develop clean energy technologies that allow us to continue to use less oil. Right now, we use most of our ethanol comes from corn. It would be better if we can get farmers to work with industry to figure out whether we can use wood chips or algae or, switchgrass or other, biomass that can create fuel that is competitive with gasoline. We're making new investments in the development of gasoline and diesel and jet fuel that's actually made from a plant-like substance. Algae. You got a bunch of algae out here, right? If we can figure out how to make energy out of that, we'll be doing all right.